Promising a very tough crackdown on crime here in D.C. And again, we mentioned some pushback to this. The D.C. Attorney General, Brian Schwab, has issued this statement, quote, "The administration's actions are unprecedented, unnecessary, and unlawful. There is no crime emergency in the District of Columbia. Violent crime in D.C. reached historic 30-year lows last year and is down another 26%.
So this is the guy who is the DA of Washington, D.C. That's the guy responsible for the violent crime spike in Washington, D.C. And now he's trying to cover his own behind by saying that crime was down another 26%, yet they were the fourth most dangerous city in the United States, with violent crime at so high that it was even higher than some third world countries. So you can imagine how this looks now, looking at this after 2 weeks of this statement.
So far this year, we are considering all of our options and will do what's necessary to protect the rights and safety of district residents."
All right, so you've been considering what to do that's necessary to protect the rights of DC, the rights and safety of DC residents, and you couldn't do it for 4 years. And Donald Trump did it in 5 days. It's like that footage that's been going around of the statement of Obadiah Stane in Iron Man 1, where he talks to the engineer that says that they can't replicate the arc reactor, and then he screams at him and says Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a bunch of scraps. You had 4 years. You couldn't ensure the rights and safety or protect the rights and safety of DC residents. And then Donald Trump was able to do it in just 11 days. Very interesting.
Attorney General Schwab is correct there when he says that crime is down in DC.
Okay, I hope CNN took this back. I doubt if they did, because there's a lot they haven't taken back. Okay, we can rattle off a long list of things they refused to take back. And in fact, they've doubled down on those lies that they told the American people.
According to the D.C. Metropolitan Police, violent crime is down 26%, assaults with a dangerous weapon down 20%, robberies down 29%, and crime overall is at historic lows in this city, Boris. We also got some pushback from Council Member Charles Allen of the D.C. City Council, saying this is doing this under the guise of public safety is, quote, wrong. It's an extreme, outrageous, and dangerous move for the city. That is the first member of the D.C. City Council to push back in earnest to this move. Boris?
Brian Todd, thank you so much for the reporting. Danny?
Boris, thank you. Former FBI Deputy Director and CNN Senior Law Enforcement Analyst Andrew McCabe joins us now. We also have former U.S. Attorney and former Deputy Assistant Attorney General Harry Litman. Thank you, gentlemen, for breaking down this very important story. Andrew, I want to start with you. From your perspective, is the purpose of this action purely to have just a massive show of force on the streets of D.C., or in practice, is there anything that will be done differently with the police department under federal control?
Now, notice that the question is from your perspective. It doesn't say anything about facts and figures, doesn't say anything about common sense. Just say your perspective, all right, from your position. Let's hear what he has to say about that.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say exactly what the purpose is, right? So
they just told you the purpose: to protect the lives of residents of DC and to stamp out crime. And they tell you it's hard to say. We don't know what the purpose is. At least be honest and say, well, they said that this is the purpose. Let's wait and see if that eventually turns out to be the purpose. That's an honest way to say it. But you see, news outlets like CNN, who have these far left talking heads, use words to frame a position. They don't tell you what the facts are. They give you a narrative. And that's what they've been doing for years. I used to swear by CNN. I was one of those guys who had CNN running on a loop in my house until I began to recognize the lies, and it just didn't make sense. A lot of people ignored that voice at the back of their head saying there's something very wrong with this picture. But many people just ignore it, and they just don't want to think about it because it's too painful to admit that these people who you've trusted for so many years have been lying to you all along.
We know what the ostensible purpose is, the facts that, or the, I don't want to even call them facts, the information that the president cited during his press conference, which of course included comparing DC to places like Baghdad and
So the commander-in-chief who has information about all of these things, you don't believe him. Okay, so why don't you believe him? Where are your facts? Where's your information that you have to counter what he has been saying? Oh, yes, we just found out that all those numbers were fudged. So please look at these faces, recognize them, because don't expect them to tell you the truth ever. Whenever you see them appear on CNN, ABC, TDSBC, whenever you see them appear, just know that you're about to be lied to, because they can't tell the simple truth with the facts right in front of their eyes.
Bogota, Colombia, where we have no accurate reporting about what their crime statistics are.
You have no accurate reporting, but the reporting you do have shows that their crime rate is lower than what you have in Washington, D.C. So you're happy to compete with Bogota, Colombia. And that's the way he sounds. He's like, well, the crime rate there isn't as low as that. It should be higher. You're actively competing with Bogota, Colombia, instead of saying the crime rate in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, should literally be zero, because it is the representation of the whole nation. That is the kind of language that they should be using. But no, they hate Donald Trump too much to engage in rational conversations about law and order.
The fact is that the crime situation in DC is at all-time lows. They were at a 30-year low last year, and it's down an additional 26% this year. So there is no crime emergency per se in the city. So when you understand that, to try to divine what the purpose is of this deployment of National Guard assets, what this reallocation of things like FBI agent resources to patrol the streets of DC, it raises some important questions, like, what is it? Why this production? Why this kind of Potemkin village of criminal intervention in a city? What is this designed to distract us from? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be the Epstein files. Yeah, that's the narrative that they received in their email, the group chats that they all engage in or they're all a part of. Oh, let's say Trump is deflecting from the Epstein files. That, by the way, we all said was a conspiracy theory. Now it's the talking point to discredit Donald Trump. You guys have lost all credibility in my books, and possibly the books of millions of Americans out there, and millions of people all over the world, because you know what? Rational people also live in other countries, and they see what's going on in the United States, and it makes no sense. So you have this guy saying that there's no proof to the fact that there's violent crime happening in the United States, and that there's no need for the National Guard to be called. You didn't point out the fact that the DC Police Department had been running a deficit of officers, and that most of your officers had been running mandatory overtime. So you forget all that conveniently, and all you're trying to say is that Donald Trump is trying to deflect and hide something. Let's hear if he actually does say the Epstein word.
I know that I can answer that for you here, but in effect, taking a federal official and simply calling him the head of the Metropolitan Police Department changes nothing within the Metropolitan Police Department. Those sworn officers are the only people who are legally authorized to enforce the law outside of the federal properties in DC. Most of DC is not federal property. It is the property of the District of Columbia.
All right, so you have the absurd narrative that CNN and TDSBC gives oxygen to. And then you have this beautiful thing called time. Time goes by, and you play these interviews back, and you see how stupid the narrative that they were trying to spin really was. So we're going to be doing some of this. We're going to always go back to some of these old reports, look at what they said, and then consider what actually happened. We see the fudged numbers. We see the residents, the actual residents of DC, putting out videos, thanking Trump for stepping in, showing the streets safe. You have, in a rare, very rare moment of honesty, Joe Scarborough reading a text from a friend who is a leftist saying that, yeah, we have a crime problem in DC. We have all of this happening over the period between when this news report and conversation was aired till today. So we have the benefit of hindsight. And we know that most of these guys are full of it. They lie and they should not be believed. Before we jump into the comment section of this story, leave a chat. Let me know what you think of this story. We would like to hear from you, and we would love to have a conversation with you. So let's jump into the live chat. No, the comment section. All right. So all these guys, one of them says engineering fake emergencies to get more power and control is outlined in the How to Become a Dictator for Dummies book. Well, I hope you I hope you're paying attention to everything. And most of these guys are bots, to be honest. Like cat profile picture with a funny username. This one too. This looks like a bot. So I'm just gonna jump over it. Police authorized to do whatever the hell they want. Feel safer now. I don't. Release the Epstein files. First of all, you don't live in Washington, D.C. You're just another, bot trying to rage bait, and or let me say you took the bait. Imagine going through the rigorous task of becoming a National Guard or FBI only to determine who is homeless and round them up. They should all quit or be ashamed for taking orders from a petty, rotund dictator. Yeah, these are the people that outlets like this attract. Extreme leftist people who don't recognize common sense and who believe that the earth is that up is down and down is up. Those are the kinds of people that they attract. Common sense, like these guys are literally allergic to common sense. We know that no one ever seizes power with the intention of relinquishing it. George Orwell, 1984. This is Donald Trump, who handed over power to Joe Biden. So this is the sludge fest that is the CNN comments section. They take your rights piece by piece until there's nothing left. That's what the Democrats were doing. Maybe the National Guard can find the Epstein files. Again, another bot. Should send the National Guard to White House instead. There's a criminal there in plain sight. Yet another far leftist. Look, I don't take pleasure in calling people like this out. I would rather just ignore them and pretend like they are actually good people and they are misunderstood. But the truth of the matter is that when people, out of an act of their will, it takes a lot of willpower to be rational and to just go against the grain of common sense. You need to mark such people, because when it's time to do things that are truly evil to someone else, the same energy that they use to push against common sense is the same energy that they already have pent up to push against compassion and law and order. These are the same guys who, when there's a revolution, would call for the termination of anyone they don't like, and they would dance with joy at those actions being carried out. So when I call them out, it's like saying, look, you guys, this is what you believe. You took the time to type all these words, all these characters on the screen, and you hit enter. It means that you've pushed against the grain. You actually believe these things, or you've made yourself believe these things. So this is who you've identified yourself as, not who I am labeling you as, but you've identified yourself as that. A popular person that I followed for years said something very important. He says, your words locate you. Your words locate you. The things you say, the things you put out there in the world tells people who you are. So when you say stuff like this, it really identifies who you are. All right, and more sludge. 34-time convicted felon is training the nation to be compliant to his police state. Fascism is here and in your face. Activating the DC National Guard would have been helpful on January 6th. And in case you didn't recall the whole conversation, Donald Trump offered the DC National Guard to Nancy Pelosi, who turned it down. And we also saw that video of her in her limo as she was being escorted or sped away from the Capitol building, saying it was all her fault because Donald Trump had offered her National Guard protection and she rejected it. So I would use the word that most leftists say to people that they don't agree with. Go and educate yourself, Raul Jimenez, because it is so sad that you would put out this ignorant statement on the internet. 34-time convicted felon. Dude, again, go and educate yourself. When a judge tells the jury, figure out the crime he committed and come back, what does that sound like? That sounds like a Banana Republic judge trying to manufacture a crime where there was no. So we saw that play out last year. We called it out. We watched in horror as the American judicial system was being ransacked by far left judges in blue states and cities. We called it out, and people like Raul Jimenez were dancing with glee as the American justice system was being ravaged by far leftists and their Soros-appointed DAs and judges.